up, Thailand Tzu Chi volunteers continue to care for flood survivors in Prachin Buri. And we learn from bee farmers if there are ways to differentiate pure honey from artificial ones. Welcome to Daya Headlines. I'm Wendy Chen. Thank you for joining us. First up, in Indonesia, a celebration was held on October 13th to mark the 20th anniversary of the Tzu Chi Indonesia chapter, with volunteers from across the country gathered at the Jakarta Jingsi Hall to express their joy and gratitude. Tzu Chi volunteers and medical staff from Taiwan also joined them on this special event. Let's take a look.
印尼慈济生根20年。
Amidst the lion dance and drum beats, Indonesia Tzu Chi chapter celebrates its 20th anniversary. In 1993, Indonesia Tzu Chi chapter was formed by a few housewives of Chinese businessmen, but at the time, they only did small-scale aid distribution and events. It was in the wake of 2002 flooding in Jakarta that Tzu Chi's love really poured into Indonesia, and Tzu Chi's 4 missions really blossomed locally.
Indonesia Tzu Chi chapter has been around for 20 years, but I've only been in it for 11. We need to continue to spread Master's Dharma and wisdom within the country and do our best to carry out Tzu Chi's missions here.
The festivity held at the Jingsi Hall in Jakarta was filled with the warmth one comes to expect from tropical islands. Even volunteers from the faraway island of Biak joined in the festivities, bringing their local traditional dance.
Tzu Chi has spread its missions widely in Indonesia. The organization has influenced many residents' lives, especially the impoverished. If local residents wish to give back to society, then participating in Tzu Chi events is the best way to do so.
It's not every day that a chapter turns 20, thus Taiwan Tzu Chi volunteers, along with medical staff from the Taipei Tzu Chi Hospital, traveled to Indonesia to join in the celebration. Before the activities started, these guests quickly learned a song to perform for audience members.
Indonesia Tzu Chi chapter's success in such a short amount of time has really left an impression on us. Indonesia is a widespread country and very populated as well. So I feel Indonesia Tzu Chi chapter has the potential to gain more strength and numbers to help those in need.
Besides crediting the success of Tzu Chi in Indonesia to Chinese volunteers, thanks also has to be given to the increase in numbers of local volunteers. It is only with everyone's support that Tzu Chi, a Buddhist organization, can flourish in a Muslim country such as Indonesia.
In Thailand, torrential rains at the end of September severely flooded many northeastern provinces. Tzu Chi volunteers have been carrying out relief work in one of the worst-hit areas of Prachin Buri province and have continued to hand out hot meals to those in need. Besides relief items, volunteers also brought the much-needed emotional support. For over the past 2 weeks, Thailand Tzu Chi volunteers have had to pass this road, while flood waters have still not receded and torrential rain has also continued.
This is our service area. We are providing help from this point number 27 to anywhere within 20 kilometers. Besides cooking hot meals, we also provide some stations with rice because we are not able to cook so much food.
To date, there are some 100,000 residents in Prachin Buri province affected by the flood. The head of the 8th village told volunteers that beneath the water is their harvest for the year. Though volunteers delivered hot meals, some are worried where their next meal will be after the water subsides.
We have received more help than previous years from many organizations. We are truly grateful.
The relief items poured in, the 15 families living in a nearby temporary shelter are concerned for their future. While one grandma just wants to go home on a boat, another mother is worried that she cannot buy milk powder for her child.
We can go out. The roads are all flooded and covered in water.
We will try to supply what is most needed. We might go to the market and buy some items first.
Delivering hot meals and words of encouragement, Tzu Chi volunteers vow to accompany residents on the path to recovery. Staying in Thailand but moving to Ayutthaya province, the low-lying communities in Ban Pha-in are still submerged underwater a month after the rain. To help Bangkok Tzu Chi volunteers arrived to conduct a disaster survey and visited their care recipients as well. Every monsoon season brings flooding to the Chai Phraya River and inundating the low-lying regions of Ban Pha-in. Even a month after the heavy rains, the waters have yet to recede here, making travel inconvenient and boats essential.
To get to the market, I have to first wade through water and then take a car and then a boat. It is not easy.
As this region floods often, houses here are built off the ground, but in some years, even this extra height is not enough.
It is tough. Last year and this year, we both got flooded.
By boat, Tzu Chi volunteers visit the care recipients one by one, as they first did 3 years ago.
The waters are really too high. In some of the houses, the only thing not covered are the roofs.
Although conditions have improved somewhat, volunteers still do their best to bring comfort where they can.
We just have to be tolerant. The floods of 2011 reached up to here.
Although the situation looks bleak, some manage to remain optimistic, like 89-year-old grandfather Ong. Living here for 60 years, he realizes the value of the care volunteers bring.
The height of this year's flood waters I can handle. If the waters keep rising, I would be worried.
With an Islamic prayer, Senior Ong blesses the volunteers and also prays for the safety of all those facing the floods. Some 6 decades ago, a group of Italian missionaries from the Order of St. Camillus first set foot in Taiwan, where they settled in Yilan and began providing medical services to those in need. These missionaries have since established a hospital, a nursing home, and even went on to open the first tuberculosis treatment facility in the nation. Over the years, these religious representatives have dedicated their lives to serving the citizens of their new country.
When we first arrived in Taiwan, it was like another world. There was no development.
86-year-old Father Resi Giovanni first set foot in Taiwan 60 years ago with a group of Italian missionaries.
We came by boat. We passed many countries and sailed for 30 days.
When the Camillian missionaries first arrived in Taiwan, they chose to settle in the less economically developed Yilan. There they embarked on a journey to serve the sick and suffering. Starting from a small clinic, they eventually established the St. Mary's Hospital and even extended their medical resources to offshore Penghu.
When we began our medical mission in Penghu, many residents didn't know how to speak Mandarin, so they asked me to learn Taiwanese first.
Learning a foreign language and starting everything from scratch, these missionaries even exposed themselves to the high risk of tuberculosis 40 years ago.
Most of the tuberculosis patients were very poor. They are mainly indigenous people working away from home.
Those abandoned by their families were taken under the missionaries' wings. The Wanshan Sanatorium was one of the first care facilities which specialized in the treatment of tuberculosis in Taiwan.
When they're looking after the TB patients, we don't get scared. When they interact with the patients, they're just like family.
Eventually, 20 years ago, the Wanshan Sanatorium was turned into a senior residence nursing home. A home for people with intellectual disabilities was also established next door. The closeness in their interactions comes from a deep and special bond they share. The Camillian missionaries care the most for those forgotten by society.
When we interact with our seniors and the children, although they are unable to express themselves, they know there are people who cared about them.
From tuberculosis prevention and cure to caring for seniors and those with intellectual disabilities, the Camillians continue to assist the sick in Taiwan. Of the foreign missionaries in Taiwan, 6 were commemorated for their efforts, and Father Rizzi was also a recipient of this honor. The Order of St. Camillus, which originated in Italy, no longer dispatches missionaries to Taiwan.
Probably no one wants to come now in terms of its medical resources, doctors and nurses, or technicians. Taiwan is now a very developed country. My heart is here, it's no longer in Italy.
From their humble beginnings, these chameleon missionaries have never returned to their homeland and have chosen Taiwan as their home. From the moment they set foot on this land, they have devoted their entire lives to serving the people of this country.
Do you know how to distinguish artificial honey from pure honey? According to research, 50% of the honey in the market is artificial and is mixed with fruit sugars, artificial flavor, and food coloring. In our next report, we will see if there's a way to distinguish artificial and pure honey and look at the hard work behind raising honeybees.
It is hard to raise honeybees because you have to take care of them every single day.
Walking into this bush, we see 200 bee boxes set up by beekeeper Chen Guanghua. Although autumn is not the season for bees to gather nectar, it is a time when wasps are very active.
It is really dangerous if you get stung by a wasp.
像我们这种被叮个2针
It will kill you if you get stung like this more than twice because it is poisonous.
According to Chen Guanghua, wasps like to attack and eat honeybees. Therefore, without attentive care, the beehives will be destroyed.
I always catch it when it is flying.
都是趁它飞的时候抓的。
Look, there's around 2 to 3 of them right now. If we don't come now, the wasps will eat all the honeybees in here.
In every box, there are approximately 30,000 bees working inside the beehives.
Look at this shiny part. Remember you said that you saw the bees spitting something in and out. They are actually making honey. We call this the honeycomb, which is made of wax cells, and the liquid inside is honey.
压一下有没有？
If you squeeze it a bit, you can see honey. This is honey and it is very thick. You see it doesn't even
它
drip.
的那个就很稠，有没有？你发现它的那个浓稠度就很高，这样都还滴不下来。
Chen Yuwen, who has been researching bees for years, says that a lab test using Staphylococcus aureus shows that pure honey is antibacterial.
就是我们挖一个洞
We dig a hole and let the honey drip down. Then we put some bacteria in it. If the honey can fight off the bacteria, then the circle will be bigger. This is called the zone of inhibition test.
However, in reality, the honey produced around the world is decreasing dramatically. For example, this year the amount of honey produced in Taiwan was about 2/3 the normal amount.
在台湾。
We can find artificial honey not just in Taiwan, but around the world. It is estimated that nearly 50% of the honey in stores are artificial honey.
To produce 500 grams of honey, a bee has to collect nectar from 2 million flowers. However, the same flavor and smell can be achieved by mixing artificial flavor and food coloring.
调和一般的那种假蜂蜜啊，其实是非常简单的。
We can produce artificial honey by mixing caramel that we can easily purchase from regular stores, artificial flavor, and fruit sugar.
一桶果糖。
On the right-hand side is a test tube filled with artificial honey. The middle one is honey with 60% of fruit sugar, and on the left-hand side is pure honey. By looking at the 3 test tubes, one can hardly distinguish the differences.
辨别真假蜂蜜有没有？
It is hard to distinguish between real honey. You can't really tell by the color.
How to make sure you purchase pure honey? Beekeepers suggest that consumers must look clearly at the product and manufacturing information.
It is not illegal to sell artificial honey. There are many other daily items that are not pure either. For example, in a bottle of olive oil, there might only be a little amount of real olive oil. and the rest will probably be soybean oil.
When we are constantly striving for delicious, cheap, and convenient food, we have increased the possibility of consuming artificial ingredients. Is it worth risking our health to satisfy our appetite? This is a question that everyone should reconsider.
Over the past weekend, the first award ceremonies for this year's Nutri Scholarship Program were held respectively in Taichung, Zhanghua, and Nantou. Next, we meet one of this year's recipients, Lin Tingwei, who is a student from the Department of Dance at the National Taiwan University of Physical Education and Sport. Though Lin is diagnosed with Tourette syndrome, a rare disease which causes involuntary muscle contraction, he nevertheless overcomes his physical condition to be an outstanding student at school and a filial son at home.
Lin Tingwei's body spasmed involuntarily at all times, whether using the computer or doing his schoolwork.
I went to Tzu Chi hospital and the doctors told me that I have Tourette syndrome. It makes me act different from ordinary people and I'm afraid of what others will think. There was a movie from the 80s about a boy with Tourette syndrome who wanted to become a teacher.
After watching the movie, Lin was inspired to become a dance teacher. Currently, Lin Tingwei is a third-year dance student and spends most of his time practicing.
As soon as I stop dancing, I start to spasm. I realized that when I'm focused on dancing, I don't spasm.
就不会有那个抽动的现象。
像他跳到那个脚都烂掉了。
Even if his feet were injured, he still keeps dancing and never complains about the pain.
就很痛啊。
Although his feet are injured and covered in calluses, Lin Tingwei stays smiling. When he heard that his adopted mother had breast cancer, he couldn't help but cry.
He's always worried that I might die. His biological mother had cancer while she was pregnant with him.
During the last stage of her cancer, the doctor told my mother that she would die if she gave birth to my sister, but she insisted on having her. When my mother died, I thought she was sleeping and kept trying to wake her up.
Not long after Lin Tingwei's birth mother passed away, his father left the family because he was in debt. While Lin is glad for his happy new life, he's worried that cancer will also take away his adopted mother.
He was suddenly unable to breathe and his heart was pounding. He thought that everyone with cancer will die.
Chemotherapy was really difficult for her. Most of her hair fell out. I'm trying to lighten her load by helping out with household chores.
那你觉得身体有没有比较好点？
有啊，比较强壮。不是自己。
He's not my biological son, so it's touching that he cares about me this much.
Lin works hard to fulfill his filial duties while also bravely chasing his dreams.
When I saw my son performing on stage, I kept weeping, not because I was sad, but because I was so happy.
Today we are sending you a Nutri Scholarship invitation letter.
At first, we didn't know each other, but Tzu Chi has helped me so much. They've made it possible for me to do what I love. I'm so happy. Mom, thank you for everything. I'll take care of you and bring you happiness for a lifetime.
I feel really happy.
Being happy is simple as long as family members care for each other.
In Malaysia, Tzu Chi sign language musicals of various Buddhist classics have changed the hearts and lives of countless individuals for the better. Liang Kao-jing in Penang is one example, as he quit gambling after being inspired by Tzu Chi's philosophy. Also in Johor Bahru, Xie Tian Song's family of 5 are all devoted on-stage volunteers who have gained spiritual fulfillment through each practice and performance.
For Xie Tian Song, his son and wife are the best Tzu Chi partners.
颠倒乱想，不负的如
Despite being unable to read Chinese, Xie Tiansong has been an onstage volunteer for 3 years and played the role of Master Wu Da.
I have been repentant for my past mistakes. First, I want to show my repentance to my family. I vow to treat them well, especially my wife.
As his children study at the Tzu Chi school, Xie has a chance to take part in Tzu Chi's events.
Now my families are all Tzu Chi volunteers. I am happy about that.
Now the Xie family all joins in the ranks of the onstage volunteers.
I am very touched as an onstage volunteer, and I hope my family of 5 can move the audience members as well.
In Penang, pastry shop owner Liang Kaojin was also introduced to the NGO by his children. Now he is the best Tzu Chi ambassador.
From now on, you have to use your own eco-friendly bag and avoid using too many plastic bags.
It's hard to imagine that Liang used to be a bad-tempered person and liked gambling.
After I lost all my money in gambling, I will borrow more money at excessively high interest rates.
Now he doesn't gamble anymore. He has quit gambling for good. That is good for him.
Following the volunteers training seminar, Liang has become even more determined on the Tzu Chi path.
5 years from now, I will retire from my business and fully devote myself to Tzu Chi's missions.
I like to see him join in Tzu Chi's events.
In response to the Million Bodhisattva campaign in Malaysia, Huang Tzu Mei, an illiterate volunteer from Kota Tinggi, Johor, has been doing her part to help recruit more Tzu Chi members. Huang once thought of giving up her mission because she was unable to write down the names of her donors, but other Tzu Chi volunteers stepped in to help, ensuring Huang can continue on with her mission.
Every morning, Huang Tzu Mei goes to the park to do her morning workout, not only for health benefits, but for the activity after her exercise routine.
If Master Zhenyan says so, then I do it. I will look for new members.
There is strength in numbers.
Helping others not only is a charitable deed, it also brings me joy.
It's not difficult for Huang to speak to strangers about Tzu Chi. The difficulty really lies in documentation. Previously, Tzu Chi volunteer Liang Yuhuan helped Huang to write things down, but Liang passed away in August, leaving Huang at a loss and depressed.
I was really heartbroken and I stopped going out to recruit new members. I didn't know what to do.
I saw how lost she was, so I told her not to worry and leave everything to me. I could take care of it.
Even though Sister Yu Huan is not here anymore, there are still plenty of other Tzu Chi volunteers. We will not only continue to do our part, but we will pick up where Yu Huan left off.
With other Tzu Chi volunteers helping her to organize the recruited members' information, Huang has regained her confidence and now continues to walk the road of compassion.
Back to Thailand at the end of today's show, as the Chinese community observed the birth of the 9 emperor gods at the beginning of the 9th lunar month by taking on a vegetarian diet. The Thailand Tzu Chi chapter also provided 2 days of meatless lunchboxes to local residents. We'll leave you with these images. Thank you for tuning in. Goodbye.